what specific exhibits were actually found by FTI?
Clause 13 here, I'm not talking about FTI. I mentioned about the Homeland Security. So what they scanned was all the exhibits that had been admitted into evidence at the date of when they came to the commission. So they scanned all what was available, be it for land, be it for bank statements, but just what was available as at that date, yes.
You also talked about a work plan by the commission. Was this work plan actually validated by the commission at any point in time?
Yeah, because the commissioners requested that the lead counsel share a work plan or aid memo, what had been developed or what had been agreed prior to them coming, so that we'd also understand the objective of the exercise that they were to carry. And based on the response that was provided, is that they were only coming to digitize the exhibits.
Um, is Do you have a copy of the work plan?
No, there was no work plan shared. There was no aid memoir prepared based on the understanding. What was replied based
So,
on our memo.
so
They said,
how? Okay, no, carry on.
yes, the what, because that's what we wrote, an internal memo to lead counsel asking for this. And the information response provided was that there was no work plan provided. They were here for a period of time, be it 1 week, whatever. I can't remember the details. And they were to digitize the exhibits. That was their mandate.
Okay, but I want to believe from your statement that a work plan was requested.
Based on what the commissioners, we called it a work plan or aid memoir. Yes. We believe that something would have been prepared or something ought to have been prepared before they came. That's why we requested for that.
So was there anything specifically prepared?
No, based on the response we got back, that there was nothing prepared, that the mandate of the Homeland Security was just to scan the exhibits.
So meaning there was no document guiding what
Exactly.
work they were
They were
supposed to do.
supposed to do,
So
yes.
they were just working randomly based on what was available.
The work plan, I guess, would have guided, or aid member would have said they're here to digitize the exhibits. They're here to do something else if they were supposed to. That's what we thought. That's why we asked for an aid member, something to guide the commission, so that we say, okay, they're doing X, Y, and Z. But then the response was that that was not available. They're here to just digitize the exhibits, which is just to scan the exhibits. So we just took it that that's all the exhibits were made available to them, packed in order of reference, and they scanned the evidence.
Okay. Moving forward, do you know if any foreign assets or accounts were recovered during the work of the home security team? Because I think originally the intent was to support the commission on the foreign accounts and assets. And listening from the evidence you gave, aside from what is being written, I think it shifted from foreign accounts to GNPC and NAVEC account for forensic.
That's
You can look at clause 13 of your statement.
yeah, because the forensic accounts that deals with FTI, which is the other individuals that came. Homeland Security, these ones were particularly for the digitizing of the exhibits. And they were also to help with the Potomac, to help in the recovery of the Potomac property. Number 13 is just the Homeland Security I am talking about there.
Okay. Looking at the issue of livestock, was there at any point in time the Ministry of Justice and the lead counsel made efforts to transfer that responsibility to the Sheriff Division, if you were aware?
Yes, that's what I was saying. At that point, we felt there was a gap. We did not know what shifted the change because the idea was the commission was going to be responsible up to the sales, and the report would have been generated. So preparatory work had been done. But what changed that, or what led to the change is the, if I use gap, we did not have the answer to that. What made the change shift to say that now it's going to be, they'll get an order for the sales to be done by the sheriff? So based on discussions, because I know we had discussions on that, and that's why I made mention that it was even led by Mr. Kurang, because it was, we were not happy about the shift. What led to that?
And who actually influenced that shift?
Well, that one we don't.
Having the commission not to execute their duties as agreed from the word go, shifting that responsibility to the Sheriff Division. Who actually may influence that decision? I think it's important for the committee to know.
Yeah, it's true, but it's based on what I know. Yes. So I'm sure MOJ would have been involved in the process somehow because we had done preparatory work, tagging, all of these things of the cattle. So we have process flow for the sales. The next thing ordinarily would be that you're doing the sales, only to realize that I think this was in December, it was even communicated that the sales now, there was an order or something that the sales would be done by the sheriff division
Instead of
the commission, and we had already done preparatory work for that. We did not go down well with us.
And with that shift, was that agreed by the members of the commission?
No, that's what I was saying. We did not agree to that.
You did not agree, but
Yes. But based on what the chairman explained was because there was a what's the legal term? Order or something, court order. So we just allow it to roll. That's what happened.
okay. I also understand that FTI were paid for their services.
Yes, so we were informed. Yes.
However, there were also local accountants that were hired to do a similar work. Do you have an idea how much those local accountants were paid?
I think from the top of my head, I think it was 30,000 per month, I think. Because they
Dalasi
were
per person?
per person, because they were not there full time. So they were there ad hoc. They made up their own hours. And but once you're given an account, then you come back to us within a duration of period. And then but NAO were not paid. We had NAO accountants as well.
Okay, you also talked about correspondence that were meant for the secretariat were also directed to the office of the lead counsel. Specifically, could you give a typical example of such correspondence
Yes.
that were shifted from the secretariat to the office of the lead counsel?
Yes, when the information was brought to the commissioners, specific documents were not mentioned. What they said generally was, because I know it was both an issue raised by Mr. Kurang, then secretary, and also it was raised by Ms. Sarah as well. So, but the specific of which documents we were not told, but what was mentioned was that rather than the documents being left in the possession of the secretariat, it was delivered straight to the legal team's office, which was not the procedure agreed upon. For any correspondence coming in should go through the secretariat, photocopied, and originals will remain at the secretariat.
And how was that situation addressed by the commission?
So we usually will have a meeting led by the chair, but then we'll invite lead counsel, and then the secretaries too would be present, where the matter is discussed with assurances that it shouldn't happen.
And was that the case that the trend never continued in terms of correspondence that were meant for the secretariat
Yes,
being shifted to the office of the lead counsel?
after it was addressed, we did not get subsequent reports of that occurring. So on that basis, we took it that it's been dealt with.
Okay. Also, in your response, I think to the lead counsel, you did said that the sales were prompted because people were cannibalizing the tractors. But then an unknown call was made. An unknown call was made to shift that decision for the council not to continue on what they were doing. Why that was the case, if I may ask?
If I understand you correctly, that the sales took place because of the cannibalization of the tractors, and then it was stopped because of the call. That's your question, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I just want to understand it.
Exactly. That was my question.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So the background to that was why we decided to do the sales. And then also we also felt the other reason was because of what we had, the encounters we had with the cattle, and also the aircrafts being sold by others. So we also decided to do this. Those were the factors that led to us doing the tractor sales. So when the call came, we stopped. The reason put forward was, again, like I said, the subsistence farming, to encourage subsistence farming, which amongst ourselves we also said, based on the adverts that were in the media, I think they ran for 2 weeks. We felt that also government could have, there was ample opportunity for them to come back to the commission and make their suggestion, which was not done, because we considered the option of also not selling, because some of us felt that we should proceed, and then others said we should allow them to stop and give us a proposal. So the chair felt that we should give them a proposal, which we all decided to run with. So, but the proposal never came from government. So then
From where? From the Ministry of Justice?
No, the proposal was to come from government, because we believe they made the call, OP made the call. So since that is what they said, they should have been the ones to provide. But when we didn't get it, we decided to carry on.
You decided to carry on with the sales.
Yes, that's what I mean.
So what about the idea that advanced that the tractors to be returned to farmers? In any case, were you aware whether whether the tractors were actually returned to farmers as the OP claim or suggested?
No, because OP never gave us any proposal. But what the commission said was to allocate, again, I cannot remember the exact figure, to allocate, I think 47 at that time, to allocate them for specific communities, or if it's going to be councils, to help them. So those were already allocated, and they were already marked even from when the assets were being arranged for sale, to mark them so that they know that these ones are not supposed to be sold. So the commission had made that decision that out of the 190, I think, but 47 or so would be allocated. And this was communicated. There were letters being written by the secretariat to those, and some even acknowledged whilst the commission was still on.
They acknowledge receipt of those tractors or what?
I don't know. I remember seeing something from, I think, Brikama Area Council, or I don't know, one of them or some of them definitely did respond when they were told that they allocated so many. They came back to respond. These are all part of the
Were
document.
those reserve tractors meant to go back to farmers, or they were meant to be given to councils?
No, it was not just councils. It was meant to be for also farmers, because that was the idea, to give it out so that they also go with the subsistence farming. That was the idea.
Yeah, this is what I definitely want to understand.
Yes.
Whether farmers received any of those reserve 47 tractors.
Yeah, from the top of my head, I cannot confirm to you, because they were supposed, when they did the letters, I know that they are also copied to the control unit. So, but I don't know in terms of whether they got it or not. I don't know.
Okay. Also from the sales report, there is an indication that Mr. Kurang sold a tractor for 1.5 million.
Sure.
Are you aware of this?
Yes, 1 point. I know 1 point something, because it
1
was a
point,
discussion. Yes.
yeah, it was 1.5 million from the sales report.
Okay.
You can always look at MOJ 8.
Yeah. I remember the amount. Yes.
Very well, good. So now, my question is, when the second team took over from Kurang, did they sold any tractor at such a cost or close to 1.5 million?
No, I don't remember that, because we were concerned about the amounts they were selling, the items were sold for. We felt they were low, on the low side. So the 1 point something million that Kurang had, I know at that time we also asked the question, is it that the reserve price that was there was wrong? Because we felt the correlation between, I think the reserve price at that time was 75,000, if I remember correctly, and it was sold at 1 point something. So he explained about how the sales went, the euphoria, like people were like in an open bidding, you expect people to be but that back and forth bidding, so they wanted the items. So that was what he explained, because we looked at also if you were to buy a new one, what the cost would be. So we were quite interested in that, because the amount was high vis-a-vis the reserve price that was put down. Yes. So I think the reserve price was 75,000, if I remember correctly, and the sales was 1 point something.
1.250.
Exactly. And then we looked at the cost if you were to buy a new one. So then that's when we said, but the reserve price, is it that the valuer got it wrong?
So was it an issue for Kurang to sell a tractor for such an amount by the members of the commission at any point in time?
It wouldn't be, because that's what you're there to get as much as possible. The questions we asked about that was the reserve, like I've said, is the reserve price vis-a-vis what it was sold for, and vis-a-vis we wanted to understand, because we were not at the sales, so we wanted to understand what happened to lead to that. That was the the genesis behind it, not to query that you sold this. Obviously, a sale auction is to get as much as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
This would be
that's
my
the point.
expectation. So if a second team should come in
Mm-hmm.
and start selling below such a price, shouldn't that not really ring a bell?
Yeah, like I said, we were concerned about the prices because when they came in the proceeds, you look at it, we were quite concerned because when they come, they prepare the report. It's given usually to an accountant to check. So, but even when you look at it, we knew that the sales proceeds being realized, we felt that they were on the low side. That's why I use the term they're on the low side. So, but then the argument or the statements being put forward was that the assets are really damaged. I remember them saying they've cut parts out or something. But I cannot see. We're not there to see the asset. So I don't know. But we just felt that for a whole tractor, it was a little bit on the low side. That was the view we took.
Okay. Since it were the commissioners and the lead counsel who presided over the report writing, from a personal point of view, what may you think went wrong in totality around the report or around the entire process of the disposals?
Can I ask you to expand? I need to understand your question.
Let me repeat, instead of expanding,
Okay, let's see.
what do you find abnormal in your report about the disposals of the assets before, in fact, validating the report?
What do we find wrong?
Wrong or abnormal? Let me
No,
just say abnormal instead of wrong.
abnormal.
Because from volume 1 to 9, I believe, as authors of the report, you might find one or two elements that you might not subscribe to.
Well, in actual fact, looking at the report, for me, I felt we could have even expanded on some areas.
Like what exactly?
Um, I felt like in terms of some areas, like let me be specific here. If I'm even looking at some of the bank accounts that were analyzed, I felt we could have gone into a lot more details than we did. The report made references to appendices. And again, these are things that are there because they're things that have been prepared. So I know that we made reference to appendices. So it was interesting that the appendices are not there to support the findings that we made because people should see what we have come up with and how we came up with it. So in terms of the bank statements, we have those with asset declaration. They were all scanned and supposed to form part of the appendices.
Now, what specific bank accounts do you feel there were abnormalities in terms of your report?
No, I wouldn't say because the bank accounts, if you look at the bank accounts, there are many. The bank accounts, I think we're talking about 80 something, if I remember correctly. That's why I just wanted to use them as an example. Um, there are many that, like, I guess with report writing, sometimes you have to see whether you need to curtail the information or you need to expand on it. So when the raw drafts were prepared, in some cases, they are way bigger than what has been summarized to be in the reports because sometimes some would feel it's not necessary to be there. So we compress. the information. But again, due to time, we made sure that we addressed all the bank accounts with the concerns that we have put. This is just me giving you my personal view. Um, if one could do it again, I would do the entire process, change certain bits differently.
What about the asset declarations? What do
They
you
should have
think?
been there
The,
because those were scanned because it should support our report. And
right.
these were definitely filled, and those that did not submit, we followed up and things like that. But these were and the secretariat were supposed to have scanned all and put them together.
Is that in relation to the entire asset declarations? Because,
All,
right?
yes.
All right. Thank you. I think that is all I have for you.
Thank you. Counsel, do you have any follow-up question for the witness?
No more questions, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. George. We thank you for coming. Yeah, thank you so much. As I was saying, we thank you for coming,
That's all right.
for being with us. It's been a long day. Of course, also we appreciate your appearance as well. So before we close for today, do you have anything to say to this committee before on everything that you wanted to say about the commission and what we're doing, and any information that would be relevant for this committee as well?
I have a lot to say. I think now I talk a lot. So, but I will try to narrow it down to the specifics, please. I believe that the mandate of the commission, like we said we were able to identify it, it was just too wide. And I feel that it should have been broken down to be effective and efficient. Because some of the things, even though we identified at that point, but by the time you get into the nitty-gritties, it was just a lot to handle. And like I said, with any process, there are flaws. And even looking at this, before this one goes back to analyze what we have done, because even when we submitted our reports, we had a debriefing session where we talk about the concerns some of us have had and the challenges, because sometimes even as commissioners, there were times when I know personally I wanted to leave. And the chair had to prevail on me more than once. So I think sometimes it's good to also appreciate what people have gone through. We support the work of the committee being done, and I think it's a good one because, like I said, I've had questions on how these assets were being disposed of. So we have some sort of conclusion, because it was important for us to know what happened. For me, I always wanted to know. Maybe it's my background. People say I'm nosy, but I don't think I am. I think I just wanted closure. It's important for me to have that. So I wanted to know. So I think it's a positive thing, and I think it should be seen like that. I know sometimes there are perceptions that it is not. I think, but that would be the committee to continue to educate people so that it is seen in that fashion. But if I had to change a lot, I would start by really not us being us being a self-accounting commission, because I think that affected a lot in what we had to do, and it led to a lot of frustrations. That really maybe we don't want to go into, but it really, they were not happy times. So you have to manage vis-a-vis from the bottom grassroots to even us commissioners. We had our own challenges. So it's really, we've learned a lot, and we take it on board, and really any way we can help. I think for me, I've looked at it like provide clarity. That's why we're there, and that's the way I see it. So I really would hope that it's also seen in that light. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. On that note, we will end the session today. with you. Of course, this committee will proceed. But like you said, the existence of this committee will also set more clarity on how the assets were sold, were disposed of by, you know, the different institutions in government. Perhaps our report will have to indicate that, and then maybe you will see exactly what had happened after
Sure.
the Janneh Commission itself.
Sure.
So thank you so very much for coming. We will close for today, and then we'll come back tomorrow on Thursday for another witness. Thank you. Your
Thank
release
you.
meeting adjourned.
Thank you.